Hello, everyone, and welcome to this LinkedIn Live session. My name is Ericka Racca, and I am the Director of Audit Professional Services with CPA.com. And I am here today with Jessie Kanter from Citrin Cooperman. She is the audit partner in charge of methodology and innovations. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Ericka.
So we are going to talk today about change management. It's a hot topic in our profession right now. When you think about all the new standards coming out, standards being updated, technology coming out and rapid fire, it's really hard to keep up with all that's going on. So it's an important topic for us to talk about. Now, we could talk about change management for hours. We only have minutes. So we're really going to focus our conversation on one aspect of change management. Most of the time when people think about change management, they focus a lot on the big plan that they're putting together for that change management. But what we want to talk about is the communication. A lot of times people don't realize how important that communication is to the success of the change management plan. Jessie and I have been working together for a couple of years as her firm goes through a large transition, moving to the Dynamic Audit Solution and DAS, where they're going from a desktop solution to a cloud-based solution, as well as a new audit methodology. So it's almost a double whammy. So a lot of change in a short period of time. And so we have a lot of experience. Mm-hmm. And so we want to pull from that experience and really help you understand why communication is so important and give you some pointers to help you as you build your plans. So let's start first with just a basic question: is why is communication so important?
Oh, it's so important. Really from the staff level up to the partner level through firm leadership, communication is so important to make sure that everybody's on the same page, to make sure that you have complete buy-in from all of those levels. Mm-hmm. A lot of people concentrate on the buy-in from the top, but you'd really need to concentrate on the buy-in from every single level of the organization, as well as any other departments that may interact with the department. So communication, make sure that you have buy-in from all levels, make sure that you're setting expectations. Change is scary, and people get really scared if they don't know what to expect. So that communication really facilitates what can I expect, what's coming next, and takes some of the fear out of that. So and transparency as well. You want to make sure that you're being transparent with people to build that trust and confidence.
Right. You want them to understand the why behind the change. Mm-hmm. So what is changing? What is not changing? Why is it important to change? What will happen if we don't change? And involving them all along the way so they really have that deep understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think about the plan that you have put together and what you've been doing the last few years, what are some questions or things that people should be thinking about when they're putting together their change management plan?
All right, so some questions that you should be asking yourself is, where are we now? Kind of take inventory,
right.
Understand all of the impacts of the change, the people, the processes, the technology. There's a lot that goes into, a change, especially like the change that we're going through now. And taking inventory really puts it into perspective so that you can make sure that you have that plan in place that addresses each of those components and the communication plan to go along with it. Because the last thing you want is to have this major change going on and you've completely excluded an entire subset of people or a portion, of the organization that's going to, feel the impact. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, have I taken everything into consideration? I guess the next thing is, focusing on the what's in it for me, right?
Mm-hmm. So the WIFM, as we say.
The WIFM.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that you're asking people along the way in those communications. What do you need? What kind of support do you need? And that can be anything from just communications to training. And this is all along the communications line, but there's so many different pieces of it. So how should we be communicating out to people? Because people learn in different ways.
Exactly.
Right?
They consume differently as well.
They do. They absorb things in different ways. And an email communication may be great for one subset of people, but for other subsets of people, it needs to be that one-on-one interaction of a small training environment and a workshop, if you will. So people absorb things in different ways. So you want to ask yourself that question for sure. And I think that's probably the most important one that I like to focus on is how do we get that information out appropriately so that people can absorb it.
When you're putting together your plan as well, you also need to remember that repetition is key.
Yes. Yes.
There are studies out there that say that you need to repeat something 5 to 7 times for someone to actually retain it. But as we were talking the other day,
Yes. Yes.
we think it actually is more now.
Yes.
When you think about all the distractions we have between, texting and email and Teams and all of these different avenues for communication, it's important for people to hear it over and over. And the more you repeat it, the higher your success rate will be.
Yeah, and we kind of have that idea right now of information overload. So if people aren't hearing it over and over and over, it's not going to resonate because they have so many things going on in their lives. And like you said, so many distractions that you really do need to repeat yourself a lot. And I've also heard that statistic, 5 to 7 times, but I would say it's upwards of 20 in a relatively short period of time to make sure that things start absorbing, or else they're going to have those questions and they're going to have that fear again of the unknown.
Right.
If they don't know what to expect and they're not absorbing those communications.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about feedback. When you're putting together a change management plan, like that big picture plan, you have to realize and understand that it's not static. You have to be flexible. So what are some tips that you might have for people out there on how to put together a process for those going through the change to be able to provide feedback?
Yeah, and I think it's really, you said process. I think it's really important to understand that it does need to be a process. You do need, both a formal process and an informal process. So what's really worked for us, and we use technology tools, every day. So people are used to certain technology. So we use, Microsoft Teams in order to, establish some discussion board channels to provide feedback, to get questions. But we also have a formal, Excel document. Accountants love Excel. So we have a formal Excel document where we've accumulate all of that feedback. And then I do think that the feedback loop is really, really important. So making sure you're taking that feedback and also letting them know what we're doing with that feedback. And then showing them, the improvements that are coming forth, the results of the feedback that they are providing to us, and being clear about what those results are. So not just showing the results, but telling them, actually including in a communication, look, we took your feedback. We heard you. This is what we're doing. And then following that up with, okay, now it's in place and now you can use it. And, we really took that feedback to heart. That's really important.
Right.
Also for the buy-in and for the trust level and the confidence as well.
The last thing I'd like to talk about here, when we're thinking about this communication and change management, thinking about what you're doing right now in the transition to DAS, as well as the on-point EVP and PCR, it's not happening overnight.
No.
It takes a lot of time. So what are some ways that you help keep those people involved in the change, the staff people, engaged throughout this long change management process?
And that engagement is really, really important, and making sure that you have people engaged at the right times as well. But, change champions, right? So change champions are extremely important. Both on the communication front, but also in the success of the project. And I think the more that people can get involved and get engaged, the more buy-in that they have, the more that they will talk to their peers and help lift their peers up. So I think change champions are probably the number one thing to focus on when you're going through any kind of change, and making sure that everybody has the same message, and making sure that they're there for support, but also they have the support above them. If you don't have those change champions, then change will not be successful.
And I'll kind of close with one other thing that I think about too is, again, the process is longer. So celebrating those small, quick wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't wait till the end to get all excited that you successfully made this change, but set some milestones, celebrate them, find different ways to do that to keep people excited throughout the process.
Yeah, and we've seen that a lot with, just different pieces of the development of the product as we're getting into it. It's like, oh, look, we have this feature now.
Yeah,
and then we run and tell the whoever may have suggested that.
Right.
It's like, look what you did. You gave the feedback. We have the feedback loop. Look what happened, and now it's there for you.
Exactly. Well, this has been a really great discussion. I, again, appreciate you joining me today to talk about this topic.
Absolutely.
And thank you to all of you who have watched, and I hope you have a great day.